How do you flip the script on the left wing, having virtually total control over the influence in this country? How do you do that? Well, the answer is you get a group of individuals who are very powerful and very famous from the Democrat Party, from the media, from the entertainment industry, and get them to, at the very same time, publicly defect to the right side of the political spectrum. Now, getting that to happen, that's the tricky part. But I believe that with God, all things are possible. It can be done with him. So, this idea is something that, this is utilized, this is done. Things will change so fast, it'd be hard to understand. Okay, because this is something that can massively, like I repeat, massively change things. And I do believe, and one of the reasons I'm going to be putting content out is because I think I have some ideas that aren't really being utilized that can seriously help to fix the country that just aren't being used. And this is one of them, okay? And this is something that, like, obviously requires like a combined effort of famous, powerful people, okay, to do this, all right? Because once this is done as a group, as a unit, it spreads. You put this on social media, that this group of people is doing this together, you put it on social media, it spreads like wildfire, all right? It has like a snowball effect. It gets bigger, 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 and wilder, okay? And the idea is that if it's like one or two people that switch, what happens is they can snuff them out. They can shut them down. Like, nope, you're out. We're going to just shut you down and forget about you. But if you get a group, I'd say a bare bones minimum, and I could be off on this a little bit, but I'd say a bare bones minimum like 5 or 6. But ideally, 9 or 10 or more of people, again, that are very powerful, like influential, famous people, to do this publicly at the same time, you change the world. You could change the world. It's that powerful. Because you can't shut that many people up. You can't shut up that many people coming forward and saying, you know what? This nonsense that's going on in this country in general is so outrageous, it doesn't even need to be basically described at this point. It's in everybody's face. And it is nonsense, and we're not going to stand up for it anymore. And we're not going to toe this line that we're being fed any longer. All right? You get enough people to do that, you change the world. Mark my words. So, this is what I believe. I believe that there are basically closeted Republicans in the Democrat Party, in the media, and in the entertainment industry that exist in real time to this day, all right? They don't want to talk about it. They don't want to. They're petrified because it could jeopardize their livelihoods, their careers, everything, and I understand that, okay? But they do exist, all right? And I ended up hearing about this idea actually on the Rogan podcast, on Joe Rogan's podcast, but they weren't talking about it in this specific way. They were talking about it with some other stuff, okay? But I started to stew on it, and I was like, you know what? This really has potential, like a lot of potential, if it's done. All right. I did some research into the Me Too movement, okay? Now, I don't know much about it. I just know some, like, basic stuff. But it was started actually quite a few years ago, but it really took off in 2017. Because in 2017, there was a woman, a very famous, powerful woman, who got fed up with the creeps in the entertainment industry, all right, and basically said, enough's enough. And she got on board with her, other women who were also famous and powerful, to say, you know what, enough's enough. This is ridiculous. Like, stop doing this crap and stop being creeps. And they started, like, pushing against those people. And you know what? It created, like, a tidal wave. It created, like, a tidal wave effect. They used social media and blasted it out. And losers like Harvey Weinstein went down because of it. Before that, they couldn't touch him. Women would try one by one. But you know what? They just shut him down and shut him down and shut him down. But when it was a group, when it was a combined effort, and they stood up for what was right, they changed the world. So this isn't pie in the sky. This can be done. It can be done. But it requires effort. All right? And the idea behind it is like, when we jump, we all jump at the same time. That's how they phrased it on that podcast. They're like, when we jump at the same time. Because that's when it's powerful. One or two, they can shut down. Big group of them, different story. Different story. Then it's something to contend with. Then it's something to reckon with. Like, oh yeah, this is like, we can't just shut you down. Like, it's a different animal then. Okay? So, This itself can overcome and cancel culture. Because please understand that like cancel culture and the idea that we're just going to shut down discussions that we don't like, that whole idea, you know where it leads? It leads to the destruction of freedom of speech. That's where it goes. And there's plenty of people, I have no doubt, that will say, no, not in America, it's the First Amendment. That can't get shut down, no way. Why? Why is that? Because it's written in the Constitution? What if you get enough people on board in Congress, in the Senate, possibly in the presidency, that say, you know what? We don't care anymore. And they enact laws and just change it. Even in the Supreme Court. I don't know. What if you get people in there that are compromised? I don't know. You think it's impossible? It's not impossible. But I'll tell you this. The First Amendment goes. If freedom of speech goes, game's over. Country's over. All right? That's the end of the game. You do not want that to happen, period. So, I want to add this too. I'm not going to say that I'm carrying water for the Republicans. I'm not. There's plenty of Republicans that are spineless cowards. Plenty of them, okay, that have no business being in power. All right, and should be ashamed of themselves for a fact, okay? But if you're going to be honest with yourselves, if you're going to be honest and say which of the two parties is more about liberty, freedom, limited government, which of them is it? If you're being honest, you have to say and know that it's Republicans, far and away, okay? So as much as I'm not like terribly enthused about them, that's where they stand on that, at least, more so than the other side, okay? And there are definitely people that are closeted Republicans in the Democrat Party, in the media, all right, and in the entertainment industry that exist, that would be willing to do this, okay, if they do it as a group. Because I think most people will be too afraid to do it one or two at a time, all right? And I realize that the idea is because they potentially risk their careers, they risk their livelihoods, okay? They risk like a lot, okay? But understand that those people that do this will be remembered in history as like the warriors of the time. They'll be the ones that we cheer on. They'll be the commendable ones. They'll be the ones that when the moment came, when the time came, they did what was right against all odds and with total risk to themselves. But they stood up, they did what was right, and they were warriors for it. And history will remember them well. But the other side that gives into this garbage, that toes this line of propaganda of what we are being fed in this country, which is basically sleepwalking us into oblivion. Those that continue to go, you know what, I don't care, I just want my livelihood and my career. Those people will have their moment. But it will be short-lived. And they will not be remembered well in history, period. You can mark my words on this. All right? And just understand, for those who do go and do this, they will be welcomed with open arms on the right side of the political spectrum. And they will always have opportunities. They always will. Okay? But I would say, if you're going to do this, those of you who do this, go old school when you discuss this. Okay? Because, like, in other words, when you get together as a group and talk about this, don't discuss any of it ahead of time on an electronic device. I would suggest you all to get together, have an old school walk where you leave your Apple Watches, you leave your devices, your tablets, your phones, what have you, at home, and you go for a walk like it's in the 1990s again with nothing on you. You know why? Because if the powers that be get wind that a group, like a numbered group of seriously famous, powerful people, are discussing politically switching sides, you think they won't go and preemptively go shut you down on social media? I think they will. So you should think about that, okay? Because this is that serious of a thing. This is perfectly legal. Perfectly. And it basically uses freedom of speech to protect freedom of speech, okay? And it is something that we need people to step up to the plate and do this, all right? I can't do it. I don't have that power. All I am is some guy who's speaking to a camera right now, who has no audience, who's brand new at making content, gets like 2 views from videos, but who believes that with God all things are possible and that we can turn this thing around. But it's got to be done soon. because that window of opportunity is quickly closing. Very quickly, okay? And as time goes on in future videos, I'll explain some of the things that, if I was this group of people, like the things that I would stand for, all right? But I realize that, like, not everybody is going to sit there and subscribe to every single dogma or whatever, policy of the Republican Party. I get that. I'm not saying go publicly endorse every single thing that they're for, all right? I don't think I endorse everything they're for, all right? But just stand against the nuttiness that's going on the other side, please. And when you do this, what I'd recommend, all right, whether you believe in God or not, it'd be a good idea to start talking to him, for sure, all right? Because when you're going to do this, having God's armor on you will help you a lot. Because as much as people will try and sit there and knock you for this, like they'll try and shut you down, they won't be able to when you have a big enough group. But it will still behoove you to have God in your corner, all right? So go have a come to Jesus moment. Like, literally. Have a talk with him. Even if you don't know or believe or whatever, or know what you believe, if anything. I know a woman who was an atheist like 2 years ago. She took a walk outside. Basically wanted to see if it was all real. Has a talk with Jesus Christ. And you know what? Jesus Christ arrived. He arrived. And her life completely changed for the better. Like that. All right? I don't know if that's going to be everybody's experience, but it was for her. And you need a greater, higher power, all right, in general in your lives, and it will certainly help you in this. So, I think it's pretty obvious that a change needs to happen, or we're probably done for as a country. I think it's very obvious to people. There's so much that's going on that's absolutely insane, and it's escalated, that it's hard to deny. If you really do deny it, you're basically just lying to yourself, okay? Or you just have lived under a rock for like the last 3 or 4 years, okay? But we need to have a wake-up call. We as a country need to have a come to Jesus moment, for sure. All right? Because, like I said, this thing's not going in a good direction, to say it lightly. And I really hope that enough people eventually will hear this kind of message and be willing to be warriors and to stand up for what's right and do it. And just go into it and make it be. Take care.